Hello, my name is Matteo Marino, and welcome to another Oracle EPM Cloud update. Today, I'll be discussing Account Reconciliation Cloud, or ARCS as we call it. ARCS is an EPM application comprised of two modules, Transaction Matching and Reconciliation Compliance, which both work together to create reconciliations. Transaction Matching matches down transactions based on predefined matching rules, while Reconciliation Compliance focuses on validating an ending balance through adjustments and explanations, all with the goal to establish a fairly autonomous process in order to cut down the typical labor-intensive practice of conducting account reconciliations. So now that we have a little overview of what ARCS is, I'm going to jump into the application and walk through the reconciliation process together. The first thing I'll do is go into Reconciliation Console, which houses all our reconciliations. And here, under the Reconciliation tab, I have filtered down on the cash clearing recs. The first thing I want to do is close out any reconciliation that does not need our attention. To do so, we could manually claim, submit, and have our reconciliation approved, but instead I've configured some format rules which has done that for us. So let's filter this view even further to show only the open reconciliations. As you can see, we have one open reconciliation assigned to the cash clearing prepare team for the month of January that needs our attention. So let's go into this rec, and I'll show you how they are structured. Here in the Summary tab, we have a high-level overview of the reconciliation. It'll show us things like the ending balance, any transactions that may explain our balance, adjustments we have made to the balance, and lastly, the unexplained difference. If there's part of an ending balance that the preparer would like to adjust, the Adjustment tab here is where the preparer can make any adjustment and even carry forward that adjustment from period to period. There's plenty more additional information in this rec, but I'll leave that for another demo. So the first part of completing a reconciliation is addressing any unmatched transactions from the Transaction Matching module. I'm going to first claim this rec so others know that I'll be working on it. And now I'll select Matching. And we will review any unmatched transactions. Similar to the format rules, I can either manually address these transactions, or I can configure rules and run the auto match, which will do that for us, allowing us to focus our attention on only those transactions that will explain our ending balance. The auto match engine can also suggest matches for scenarios in which we will still like to review the match before it gets confirmed. So let's configure some auto match rules and see how it streamlines this process. So I'm going to close here and navigate to match types. Match types, I'm going to locate my cash clearing match type and set it to pending. Pending will allow us to make edits to its configuration. I'm now going to go into match processes and click rules. Here, I'm going to create two auto match rules. The first one is going to be a one-to-one inverse rule. For rule type, I'll leave it as one-to-one. We could do one-to-many, many-to-one, many-to-many. For match process, I'll leave it as confirmed, but we can also do suggested, kind of how I was alluding to earlier. I'll now click Save, and our rule conditions will populate here at the bottom. For amount, we'll leave it to match exactly, and we'll add another rule condition for the date. We'll click Save here, and for this rule, we'll have a one-to-one or a credit to debit match as long as the amount matches exactly, and so does the date. I'll click Save and Close, and I'll add another rule. For this one, we'll do a one-to-one inverse, but suggested match. Again, it'll still be a one-to-one, and we'll change the match status from confirmed to suggested. We'll click Save. Our rule conditions will populate here at the bottom. We'll leave amount to match exactly, and we'll create another rule condition for date. And instead of matching exactly, we'll match with tolerance. And we will add a tolerance here to our date. I'll click Save. And so this rule will suggest a one-to-one match as long as the amount matches exactly and the variance between the two dates is plus or minus 3. So I'll click Close here. And now that we have created the rules, I'm going to set this match type back to approved. Click Save and run the auto match. The auto match will take a couple seconds here. And now that it's complete, I'll go back to my reconciliation and click matching. Under the suggested match, we have one possible match that we can either confirm or discard. And one thing to note here is that these two transactions span across two different periods. I'll confirm this match and later I'll explain how this affects our reconciliation. Next, under our unmatched transactions, we see that we have no more transactions to address. So with this auto match engine, we were able to match all our unmatched transactions and investigate as to why our cash clearing account had a balance at the end of January. So now we can click close and review our reconciliation before submitting it for approval. And we can see how that January transaction moved from less unmatched here to the less matched in transit bucket, allowing this transaction to continue to explain our $50 ending balance, but at the same time match with our credit in the February reconciliation. So now that I've reviewed my reconciliation, I'm going to click submit, and send this off for approval. So to recap, we've configured automatch and format rules and saw how automating part of the process allowed us to focus our attention on only specific reconciliations and transactions that helped explain this cash clearing ending balance. But before we wrap up today's overview, I want to highlight some useful tools and out-of-the-box dashboards that can help administrators track their reconciliations. So I'm back here on the homepage, and I'm going to select Dashboards. Select the first dashboard, the Overview dashboard. And this dashboard will help track the status of all our reconciliations for a given period, here January 24, and display it in various ways, such as either by the format, by the risk rating, or the priority, and lastly, even by the organizational unit. The next dashboard is the compliance dashboard, which will give you a little bit more granularity as to the status of these reconciliations, such as whether a late reconciliation was late because the preparer was late on submitting the rec, or if the reviewer didn't approve it in time. And lastly, our match metrics dashboard will display transactions in various match statuses by its import date. So that will wrap up this ARCS overview for the EPM Cloud update. There's many more aspects to ARCS that will help streamline your reconciliation process, so please don't hesitate to reach out with any questions. Dude, I think that was good.